I was just expecting you guys to, I guess, fill in the missing pieces. I started in the beginning by modeling the Eames house, and then I was like, all right, now we're composing boards, and I just really missed the middle. And I told I told you guys to just look stuff up and do it, and that was like a, I mean, um, man, I'm becoming like the instructors I said I never wanted to be like, and I'm really getting myself a bad grade. Um, oh man. Okay. All right. So, and then this morning I put on a flash drive what I thought was my Revit model, and I came here today and I opened it up and it was like way back. Like it was not my latest Revit model. There was a lot of stuff that I did that was missing. So I decided to pull up Kim's Revit model. Um, and he took his a step beyond where I took mine. And I'm imagining a step beyond where anyone else took their model. You have not saved recently. That's fine, I'm not gonna save. So I had modeled masses on top, and I think you guys did the same. And he changed the properties of the glazing and added color to it. And I haven't done this to my model, but I think I will. And you know, you guys are welcome to explore this or not. Really, like if your Revit model is just complete enough, you can always use your skills in how you crop the view and how you compose your 3D view to make it look really good, even if it's not to the level that Kim took his. But he did show it in class, and it was recorded. So the recording should be there if anyone wants to follow it. Okay, so first things first. I don't know if you guys know this or if you guys want to follow along, but so if I go to any of my floor plans, I can go to 3D view and add a camera. Have you guys done this or no? So some of you yes, some of you no. So you would click this, and you're basically deciding where you're standing and where you're looking. So if I stand here, let's say I stand here and look this way. So first I click, and then I'm holding, and I'm dragging to where the focal point is. So maybe I'm gonna click, and I don't want to click too close because I want everything to show up in the view. So I'm gonna drag it out here and just let go of the mouse. Oh no, I gotta click again. So I'm gonna click again. So I go here. And as you see, it's cropped strangely. So I'm going to grab this and extend these outward. So I am composing a view, and it doesn't look great right now, but we can change that. So if I hold Shift and middle click, I can move around in here, and it's changing the properties of the camera that I just inserted. So if I center click and move around, it pans. If I hold Shift and center click, it rotates. So I can get a view that I like. And uh, and there are so many tricks of the trade that you just pick up over the years. I know I don't look like it, but I've got a lot of years in working on the design of buildings. So, which you guys are starting to now. And I don't know if I told you guys this before, but you guys are welcome to, after you graduate, drop the word interior and just use the word designer and design anything. Whether it's a ground up building or a logo or anything you want to design, like a ground up structure, some kind of graphic, like any type of design you can dabble. Like, you decide your own expertise. And I mean, you may decide that you do want to specialize in interior and you do want to use the word interior designer, or you may decide that you want to go more broad and just use the word designer. It's like, that's a personal question, and it depends on what you want to do. But so one of the tricks of the trade is when you're composing an interior view, and this actually works for exterior views too. Silence my phone. They look better when you show more ceiling than ground on an interior. And you guys can test this. I've tested this a lot, and it's just true. And it works also on exterior views. Like, if you show more sky than ground, they just read better. But I mean, I encourage you guys to try it yourselves and see what you decide, what you come across. But I believe that it's kind of tried and true. So I'm going to show a little bit more ceiling than ground. And my perspective is kind of wonky right now. Like, everyone knows the difference between like a 1-point perspective and a 2-point perspective and a 3-point perspective, right? Yeah. So what I got going on right now is a 3-point perspective unnecessarily. Like everything is going to a vanishing point. I don't have anything that's going parallel. So I'm not doing a 2-point perspective, which would be ideal for me to do. But I'm not going to fidget in here until I get it right. I would rather personally Photoshop that element of it by distorting it. But I mean, you're not going to lose points if your views are not perfectly, like if your verticals are not perfectly vertical and parallel to each other. I'm just throwing all this stuff out there just to give as much data as I can to you guys, because I feel like, I don't know, that seems to me like the right thing to do. But yeah, you're not going to lose points if you don't have that. But it's just like something to be aware of in the field, because when you have clients, they're not going to know why what they have in front of them is special. They'll be able to see it and just feel that what they have in front of them is special. So that's just something to keep in mind. So all right, so I got this. So then I go to View, Sheet. And it looks like Revit has a default 30 by 42 sheet. Oh, by the way, I had a folder in the OneDrive that said rough draft of the 4 boards due April 15th. I changed the name of it to drawings and renderings. So I think we should put both in there. Like, if you've got rough drafts of your boards, put them in there. And also let's put in individual prints, because like these individual prints, you guys should be able to use for studio too. Like, you guys should be able to take plans and 3D views from here, which we're going to talk about today, and explore ideas on top of it. Like if you take this view, I don't know, maybe you guys do have all your design work in your Revit model. Oh, but if you're doing that, I hope everyone's doing 2 files. I hope everyone has a file which is just the Eames space unaltered, and a file which is your design work, if you're doing that in Revit, because you're going to need both. But what I'm thinking is, how I would do it is I would do the existing EAM space in Revit, and if I have my studio stuff in Rhino, I would maybe match the views and render them separately and superimpose them in Photoshop. That's probably how I would do it. So okay, so 30 by 42 horizontal E1. All right, let's see what Revit has as a default sheet. Okay, so this is a pretty decent looking sheet. It's got a title block. I don't know if any of you have worked in an office, but you will have a title block on the right side of your sheet, which will describe the firm, the scope of the project, the address, etc. So, and then it would also state the owner, which when you're doing a school project, you don't really have an owner. You're doing the project for yourself and the school. But I mean, so I would double click and rename these things so it makes sense. So, you know what? First, let's bring in our drawings. And I have another thought now. I'm thinking we shouldn't just print the drawings on individual sheets. We should maybe put multiple drawings on one sheet, have a big PDF, and then you guys can crop it. Oh, and then you guys will crop it for studio, and then you guys will crop it for the composed boards and the hybrid drawings. I mean, some of you, it seems like maybe already have done this. I don't know if you guys have. I mean, because some of you do have boards that are pretty far along. But maybe you've just screenshotted those for that, and you want to actually print a legitimate PDF just to have in case you need it. So we're going to click on the view that we want to add to the board and just drag it in. So floor plans, ground floor, first floor, roof. And hopefully you guys put in the levels when you guys were 3D modeling, and you can. So these names are based off of the levels that you put in. So ground floor. And it brings it in at 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. How do I resize the box? Does anyone know how to do that? Does anyone know how to resize this box? No. Okay. That's something we gotta know. So how do we do that? Let's see. Let's find out. Oh, oops. Here it is. I wish the speaker was louder so we could all hear what's going on, but I could barely hear it, so I'm assuming you guys can't hear this. So I'll repeat everything. Well, let me see if closed caption works. So how did he get there? So I think he's not doing it on the sheet. He is doing it in the actual floor plan view. So, I mean, I would think intuitively you would be able to come here and resize this, but it seems like this bounding box shows up on your plan view and you change it from there. But I just don't know how to get it to show up on the plan view. Oh, there it is, crop tool. Show crop region. Okay, so ground floor, crop view, show crop region. Okay, show crop region. There we go. So Now we have in here another piece of information, which is how our drawing is being cropped on the board. And there's a lot of unnecessary things. Do you guys know what this is? Everyone know what this is? This line? You guys do, right? You guys just don't want to say it. Or no? So when there is a section drawing, I mean, you guys had to have covered this last semester. So this is showing where the section is being cut. I don't know if this is a clipping plane. I mean, it probably is. Yeah, it is a clipping plane. But so this line is showing you the direction you're looking. So when we cut it, we're standing on the line and we're looking to the right because this is pointing to the right. If it were pointing left, we would be looking to the left. Now, there is no reason for this to extend this far. It's just taking up space on the sheet. So I'm going to grab it and move it upward and grab this and move it downward. There's a book by someone named Edward Tufte. I think his first name is Edward. His last name is Tufte. I think it's called The Economy of Space or something. And it really describes principles that we want to use when we do drawings. I think the book was made for graphic designers, but it applies to everything. It applies to structural drawings, it applies to mechanical drawings, it applies to plumbing drawings, it applies to design drawings, it applies to architectural drawing, like drawings of inventions, you know, like, so the economy of space is we don't want to have unnecessary things that take away from the reading of the drawing. We want to focus on what the drawing is showing. So even these being so far away is kind of weird. So these are markers showing that we have 4 elevation views. And this is just standard in the industry. If we were drawing by hand, we would just draw these in by hand. You know, we would just draw the section cut in by hand and draw the section, just know where it's being cut and compose our section from there. So, but we wouldn't draw these elevation markers this far away. We would probably have them closer. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to crop this more tightly. So I'm composing my drawing so it looks professional. It doesn't look like something that was just thrown together with Revit defaults. Okay. And these should roughly be across from each other. I mean, all right, so let's crop this much more tightly. Oops. Oh, wow, I cropped it too much. Oh, wow, so it doesn't let me crop it too tight. Wow. Okay. Anyway, so let's see what it looks like on the sheet now. Okay, I think it looks decent. Actually, let's see if I could justify it this way. So I have a ground floor plan. I think the next most important drawing for me to include after the ground floor plan, like before I do the exterior elevations and before I put in the 3D views, I think the next most important drawing is the section. And this is very dominant on the page. It's a section cut. And to not have a section on this sheet would be a crime as far as arranging a sheet with a title block. So I want to put this section And by the way, if you have it as an interior elevation, if it's something like this in the plan showing that you're standing here looking that way at the wall, that's acceptable too. We could look at these as sections or interior elevations. They mean slightly different things, but very similar. And you can explore whichever way you want to explore it. Basically, we want to cut through the space and look in one direction. So that can be a section cut or an interior elevation. So let's see, which section is that? So let's go to ground floor plan. Oh, that's a short section. Oh yeah, I mean, obviously. But okay, so section 3. So I want to bring section 3 into the board. Section 3. I'm just clicking and dragging it into the board. And my sheet does not read well currently. But you know what? I'm going to get all my views in here first and then work on the reading of the sheet. Okay, let's see. So we have a long section. I want to show the whole thing. But why? Okay. I don't have the section marker for the long section, so I'm going to add it. Section. So was that in view? Yeah, view, section. Click, drag. And I don't want to do it angled unless it's very intentional. And if you're going to go for an angled section, you got to make sure every intersection between that line and an edge of the eames space is very intentional, which is going to take time and composing and aligning. So I'm just going to do the safe thing and just do a straight, just go horizontally and cut my section. Okay. All right, so I added another section here. Oh, and you'll see when I put it on the sheet, wow, okay, so Revit's kind of amazing. Wow. So it says 2A102 on this. On this one, it doesn't say anything. The reason this says 2A102 is A102 is the name of the sheet on the title block, and it's 2 because it's the second drawing on there. And this is not saying anything because this has not been placed on a sheet yet. So all of these things that Revit is adding are pieces of really good information that we do want to be adding. And if Revit wasn't doing this, we would be doing this manually after the fact. So when I put this on the sheet, this is going to probably say 3A102, which is what we want because it will be the third drawing on that sheet. So I'm going to double click this. Okay, so I have a long section, section 5. I'm going to go to the sheet and I'm going to drag it in. So that's section 5. Now I have a lot of sections that are not in here that are cut. So that's why it says section 5, but it's the third drawing. And it's a little bit messy. It's not super messy, but it's a little bit messy. And you guys should take the time to clean those up if there is the time, you know? I mean, I know you guys have a lot going on, so if you want to print your sheet before it's completely relentlessly fixed, that's fine. You know, print it as PDF, put it in the folder. We can work on it later. But also when we're doing this, we want to use the same principles we're using for our hybrid drawings, which some of you have already composed really nicely, and you can keep that. Or if you compose this sheet, if you like how this is coming out more, you can use this on there. But yeah, that's a vertical board, and this we're doing horizontally. But I mean, you guys can use any of it, like whatever feels useful for studio. You guys can use it for both classes free of charge. So, but the same principles apply. Like, I want this section to align with the plan. Like, I don't want to do this. You know, I think the hybrid drawing really got us thinking about our drawings align, because it just reads so much better. So maybe this section should go here. Oh, I could change it here too. So I could change the way it's being cropped in here also. Cool. So double click. Oh, wow. And you could even edit it further. All right, that's cool. All right, so we should be setting up sheets, and then once we have them set up, so this still needs work, but you know what? Let me change some of the title block here. So project name, double click, come here. Let's call this Eames House. I don't want to leave something unnamed. I'm going to, or here, I'll come back to that. Drawn by Ara Hovsepian. By the way, everyone mixes up the S and the E in my name. Everyone's like Ara Hovsepian or Ara Hovsepian, but it's Hovsepian. There's the S is after the V. Everybody always messed that up. And back when I was in high school, people would, like, teachers would call me like A-Ray, Era, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, Ara Hovsepian. Okay, date. April 5th, 2022. Oops. Wait a minute. I hope I'm not working off the OneDrive. Anyways. And I can change, okay, checked by, it's not checked by anybody, so. Eames House. Eames House is case study house number 8, is it? Okay. Case study house number. Owner, that doesn't make sense here. I'm going to put design communication 2. Project number, I'm just gonna write deliverable 03. So like, it should all make sense. And you know what, you guys have the option. If you want to do this as your hybrid drawing, that's a vertical 24 by 36, do that. If you want to do both of it, all of it, put it all in there. But see, like, either way, let's say if I have this sheet and you have to work on a drawing for studio, you can take this into Illustrator or Photoshop and crop it and just use the view you need, because this will print as vector line work. We talked about the difference between a vector and a vector-based image and a pixel-based image. So this will print vector-based, so you can scale this up and not lose information, and you can crop it, and it will always be clean lines, right? Like, if I were in Photoshop, this would start to pixelate, and I wouldn't be able to see this clean. But if I take this to Illustrator, after I print my PDF, I could always keep zooming in, and it will zoom in cleanly. Maybe I should just prove that to you guys. All right, let me finish fixing this title block. All this consultant information doesn't need to be here. Autodesk. Can we change that? I mean, whatever. Yeah, we're using their product, autodesk.com/Revit, whatever. Let's let that stay. I mean, if you guys want to cover that up, you can. But all this, like, consultant. So this is where all your consultants would go. Structural engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, plumbing engineers, like any consultants you have, you would put their, I mean, if you were doing this as a professional project, you would put their name, their office address, their phone number. So when you submit for permits, if they have to contact them and not you for their scope of work, they can. So that's where you would put their information. But we don't have that for this, so let's see, what do we want to put here? Or should we just leave it blank? You know what? I'm gonna leave it blank. If you guys want to write some text and add some information there, you're welcome to. Oh, I didn't have to. How do I have to save this? How do I save from here? It's not updating here. Override graphics in view. Load into project. Overwrite existing version. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So kind of a cleaner title block. All right, so I'm going to print this as PDF. File. First, I'm going to save the file. And by the way, constantly, I want you guys to hit Control S as you're working, like every 5 minutes, Control S, Control S. That's something, like back in my first, I don't know, 5, 6 years in the field, like I constantly lost files because computer crashed, like stuff always happened. So now, every 2 minutes, Control S, Control S, Control. It's become a habit, and you guys should develop that habit because it's a good one. File. Wow, is this? Yeah, this is going really slow right now. Or no. Project on my desktop. Edited. Okay, save the file. File. Print. Print. So Adobe PDF, I'm going to print as. And even like if I'm sending it to a printer, I probably wouldn't directly from Revit. I would probably print it as PDF and then send it to the physical printer through Acrobat or something. So Adobe PDF, current view. Okay. The request cannot be completed. Adobe Acrobat license has either expired or not been activated. Try launching Adobe Acrobat. Okay. That looks like it works. That's weird. Adobe PDF. Okay. Documents. All right, so I got a PDF printed. Whoa. Okay, so now I can do with this many things. Oh, what? Oh, I didn't. I should have named it in there. What did it print as? I thought I printed it to my desktop. I'll print it again. I don't see it. Adobe PDF. Yeah, it's saved to my desktop. That's so weird. It's not there. All right, I'm gonna print it again. Browse. It's not there. Oh, I see. I see. So I didn't do the last step. Oh no, wait. It says it exists. Oh, it's in my documents. My bad. Okay, documents. Documents here. Okay, now, like, what we're doing in Revit shouldn't be a nuisance or like an extra thing we're doing. Like, we should use this to make every drawing we have to do within an EAM space better. You know, like if you guys got to draw a plan or a section of something, why not use this as your base and draw your plan and section on top of it? Because this is the space we're using for our studio project. Okay, so I'm gonna grab everything, make a new maybe vertical with, you know, or whatever I have to make, and I'm gonna paste it. Oh, what size? What size was the thing I just printed? E1 is a weird page size. What is that? Anyone know what an? Oh, I made a terrible rookie mistake. Okay. All right, we're backing up. We're going back to Revit. Control P. Okay, so this like, man, so I made a terrible mistake. So I placed my drawings here at 1/8 of an inch equals a foot, and they were at scale on this sheet. But I think when I printed it, it did it like on an 8.5 by 11 and scaled it down to like a random scale, whatever fit. So I need to go to properties. Advanced. Yeah, this is scaling this to letter. That's completely wrong. It said E1. So I'm going to go to E1. Yes, okay. So I'm going to call this 2. Hopefully 2 will print correctly. Oops, documents. Is this right? Hold on. Properties, E1, advanced. I mean, not that it matters. Setup, maybe? So E1, yes. So we fixed that. Oh, here, we don't want to fit to page. That's another problem. Fit to page is going to rescale everything because it wants to not crop things, and it's finding the bounding box and it's scaling that to fit within. But we want our drawings to be at 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. We want them to be scaled correctly. So we don't want fit to page. We want zoom 100%. Yeah, that was a really bad working mistake I made. So be conscious of this. Don't make this mistake because your drawings will be at the wrong scale if you do that. So zoom 100. Do you want to save these settings for use in a future Revit session? Yes, absolutely. Okay. Okay. Number 3, third time's a charm. Oh, man. Yes, there we go. And I could tell it's right because there was a line out here, a rectangle out here, and it was fitting it to the page by putting the rectangle in there. But that rectangle should be the same as the sheet, so it should not read. So now finally, I have my drawing scaled correctly. This looks weird. This shouldn't be here. That should be cleaned up. But like stuff like this, like if I have to now, I can clean this up in Illustrator if I catch things last minute. Even in Acrobat, you could clean stuff up in Acrobat also. But yeah, so I'm noticing now that this hat shouldn't be in here. But anyways, it's finally scaled properly. It's rotated, which it shouldn't be, but I can fix that. Okay, so now I can take this to Illustrator. Number 3, open with Illustrator. How clean that looks? I could keep zooming in. It's going to keep reading cleanly. So if I take this to Photoshop, it's always a give and take. You always gain something and you lose something. You have more ability to edit the image in Photoshop and add textures and mess with saturations, and like you can do so much in there that you can't do in Illustrator, but you have to rasterize the image, meaning you have to pixelate it. So as far as presentation things go, that's something for you guys to consider. What makes more sense for your project? And ideally, you'd want to explore all of it. Like ideally, you'd want to develop your skills with all of these tools because they're all extremely useful. So Photoshop. So if I take this to Photoshop, you'll see it wants me to say OK to a pixel size. And Illustrator doesn't do that. It just opens it up. A pixel size and a resolution. So I'm going to hit OK. And now it's loading because it's rasterizing the image. Okay, so it's rasterized. Layers. Let's add the background. And by the way, you guys are welcome to do this. Grab this, Control-I. Grab this, Control-I. And you can have a drawing like this if you would like. And then I would probably... and in Illustrator, it would be the same thing. You would put this black rectangle in the back, and you would change your line work to be white. You would just select it all. Here. I'm going to lock this, add this, black background, and then grab this, click here. So this first one is the fill color. The second one is the stroke color. If you want to change the stroke color, make it white. And we have this, which still needs work and cleaning up. But you get the picture. So if that's something you want to explore, you can. Undo. But if you do explore that, you might get critiqued extra harshly on your boards because it is harder to read that way, unless you really, really dial in like textures and subtextures and subtle background colors, because this is how we're used to seeing drawings, and these read a bit more easily because this is what we're used to looking at. But when you start to do this, like I would add very subtle and it would take a lot of work to really make it read properly. But you know what I mean? Like it's gonna take quite a bit of labor to really compose this to be. But you guys are welcome to try it, you know? Like this is one of the things that I always wanted to try a drawing like this in school, and like every studio I had told me I couldn't do it. Like you're not allowed to. You got to do black line work on white background. And the reason was back then everything was printed and pinned up, and they didn't want me wasting the ink on the printer, which makes a ton of sense. It makes so much sense. Like to print this on a 24 by 36 or something is such a waste of ink. It's a terrible idea. It's a really, really bad idea. And like you would get torn apart for wasting all that ink on the school printer. So, but if we're going digital, I think that's a little loophole you guys could use, because I don't think we're going to print these drawings. I think we're going to have a fully digital final review. So I'm just throwing that out there, you know. Like I want you guys to take control of your projects. But this is a perfectly elegant and subtle way to do a drawing. And this is how typically drawings are done in the field. So, okay, so I want to grab this. Oops, I locked it. I want to grab this and copy it and open a new window. So last time I was talking about taking screenshots and composing your boards with screenshots. So, and that's a great way to figure out your composition, you know, to do things quickly. And the only problem is, depending like what resolution your screen is at, that's going to be the resolution your screenshot is at. So, I mean, if you have like a 2000 by 3000 resolution display, that might be great. But if your display is like at 800 by 1200, like it might look like crap. So printing this as a PDF and opening it in Illustrator is the safer bet. So if you have composed your hybrid drawing with screenshots, you can always take these and put them on top of it and hide that layer and use what you did last time as your framework for organizing the composition of the new board. Yeah, so this is at the correct scale now, right? That makes sense to everyone. This is at 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. And if I wanted to go to quarter, I would grab everything and object, scale. Wait, where's scale? There's scale somewhere. Effect, view, window. Edit, object. Transform, yes. Object, transform, scale. And since it's at 1/8, I'm going to go 50% if I want it to be at 1/16 of an inch equals a foot. Right, so now it's at 1/16. Undo. If I want it at quarter, object, transform, scale, and I'm going to do 200. Okay, now it's at 1/4 inch equals a foot. So I don't want to lose the scale. I want everything to be at the correct scale. And by the way, I hadn't shown this in depth, so some of you probably who have done your hybrid drawings don't have it at the correct scale maybe. So, but you've composed an amazing board. So you can do this, figure out the correct scale, and recrop it so it is at either 1/8 of an inch equals a foot, or 1/16 or quarter, or whatever makes sense. I think 1/8 probably will make the most sense. Any questions? All right, I'm going to stop recording. Oops.